Welcome to Global Connections on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your host, Jay Fidell. Today, we'll talk about debunking the myth of Hindu extremism in the UK. We'll talk about the leaked British police intelligence report, which you may or may not have heard about. Our guest for the show is Roopmati Khandekar, geopolitical analyst here on ThinkTech. Welcome to the show, Roopmati.
Aloha, Jay. Thank you for having me on your show, and it's a pleasure to be back with you.
Well, this subject is kind of limited to the UK, but it has international repercussions beyond the UK. We need to balance the violence of one religion against another religion, and let's see what's happening. Is this a political tactic which is happening by treating Hinduism and Hindu people as extremists, or will this set up a backfire and set a precedent to bracket other religions like Christianity, Judaism, and the like to narratives which would make the actual aggressive religions seem to be less of a nuisance to world happenings? This is about the media. It's about communication. It's about misinformation and disinformation. So, Roopmati, what is going on? What is the nature of this British police intelligence report, and how is it affecting, the media and public opinion in the UK?
Yeah, Jay. So this report a couple of weeks back came out. It's a British police intelligence report, and they talk about British Hindu extremists forming alliances with the far right groups over their common hatred for Muslims, and suggesting that that could be the reason why there would be brawls breaking out. So, Jay, the police in the UK are doing three things. This intelligence report that they bring out. First is that they say that the British Hindu uh, extremists are aligning with the far right for the shared hatred for the Muslims, and they name activist Tommy Robinson, who is currently in jail, to be aligning with these groups. So one single person. Then they say that the Hindu allies of Prime Minister Modi uh, were meddling in British elections, and they were campaigning against the Labour Party in 2019. This is all a police report. And third, that they come up with is that European terrorists are taking inspiration from Hindu extremists, and the example that they give is that of Anders Breck, who killed 77 people in 2011 in Norway, saying that he was influenced by Hindu activism. So now, Jay, see the vastness, or see the spectrum that this police intelligence report tries to cover. They are trying to first bracket Hinduism as an extremist religion, which clearly is inherently wrong, and we'll explain why. And these claims were refuted to be baseless, misleading, and false by the Hindu groups. And Jay, this report was in response to the, let's take the background, Leicester riots. Now, the Leicester riots happened in 2022, based on which the police have made this report. Let's state the facts that Hindu extremists, like they say, in these riots, 105 Hindu homes were harmed. No Muslim homes were destroyed. Two Hindu temples were destroyed. No mosques were harmed. Which is the community which is indulging in the violence? It's very clear. Even a layman would tell you through the statistics who's indulging in violence and who's on the receiving end of the violence. And the need to bracket this Hinduism into as an extremist sect is that Jay, the 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 British have social issues which are far ingrained. There's a fear now that they cannot infuriate the Muslim population. So the grooming gangs of Pakistan, Pakistani origin Britishers, which was rampant. It was clear for everybody to see that they were grooming and luring and abusing young white girls, and the British police did not crack down on them, just for the fear that it would cause backlash and tensions. So you see, the British police are acting within a set framework. And labor is not kind of is not conducive for this uh, sorting out or having a balanced view. So having Hindu extremism is an oxymoron in itself, and I'll explain to you why.
I come at this from the point of view is that Britain, over the years, because of its, the sun never set on the British Empire, and certainly it never set on Britain's relationship with India, which was very robust for a long, long time, and it allowed people in. It was a very open policy, up to a point. It allowed people in, so you have a significant population of Indians, both Hindu and Muslim, and I suppose Pakistani as well. And so they populate the place, and they don't mind using the media to extend their political views on things. And so I see this as a function of the fact, as you said, that the police are not likely to try to correct this because they don't want to offend the Muslim population. But the fact is, the Hindus are very peaceful, and they are not extremists. So what's happening here is those who would attack the Hindus are using the media to attack them, and people are ignorant. I mean, people in general in the UK, as they are certainly in the US, are ignorant, and they don't know the reality, and they get sucked into the disinformation that winds up in the media. And this is very problematic, and it's sad to see that the British don't have a system, a way to deal with it. And so we need to talk to you, Roopmati, so we can deal with this.
Yeah, Jay. So this is just a police report, but it shows the state of the British society that it's become. It's catering, or it's submersive to the Muslim dominance. And Jay, when they try to bracket Hinduism as extremism, uh, they will also do that with the other religions coming up. And also that Jay, that these people, the Islamic Jihad, the term Islamic Jihad is being balanced with Hindu extremism, Christian aggressiveness, what do you say? Jewish torture, anything they can come up with, because this is a narrative that is being formed. And the reason why I tell you that Hindu extremism is an oxymoron, two contradicting words coming up close to each other, because Hinduism is not just a religion, it's a way of life. Why? Because Hinduism is one of the most ancient religions in the world. It is a source of learning about life, universe, and infinity. The concepts of science, the Mahakumbh which happened, 660 million people visited India. And what was that celebrating, Jay? That was celebrating Jupiter's revolution around the sun. So these Indians had an inclination of Jupiter completing its circle in 12 years, 5,000 plus years back. So it was a society about knowledge. It was a society about learning, and it was a society about giving. When you go to the Mahakumbh, you celebrate. When you go to an Indian festival, you celebrate. And for the Indians, Jay, the reason why I say oxymoron again and again is that Hinduism was formed at a time when it was exclusive. They did not have competition with any other religion. It was developing as its own. They did not need to kill the infidels or the non believers. It was just a religion which was developing on its own, and it has stayed that way. India has been the receiver of all the conquerors. It has never invaded outside. So to say that they are aggressive is a different thing. While on the other hand, Jay, Islamic jihad is a fourfold concept. They have a inner jihad, which they control their passion. The second jihad is the outer. Second jihad is outer jihad, which you persuade the others to follow your own through the pen or the tongue. That is the third. And the fourth is, if they don't listen to all this, you use the sword. So they have a concept of jihad in their holy writings. They have a political agenda in the holy writings. None of our religions, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, they don't have a political agenda that you uh, conquer people. conquering of land is different thing. But by hook or crook you conquer people is a concept that is only exclusive to Islam, Jay. And a narrative that is because they become, when did this thing happen in British society? When they came up in majority, they want Sharia courts to be implemented across the UK. They want immigration to be softened and allow more immigrants to come in. All this happened when they came into a majority. Till they were in a minority, Jay, they were quiet. They were just waiting for the right time to strike. We have discussed this four stage before in our program. So um, they have a set of steps that they have to take. Couple of few months back, you had Bangladesh burning. Who were the which was the community that was suffering? The Hindus were massacred, literally massacred. That is their concept of victory. That uh, they defeat the infidels or the non-believers. In Lebanon, uh, Muslims came as a minority, but in fact, you cannot call them a minority. When you call them a minority, you make a mistake. You have to call them the second largest majority because they take over. Jay. They use every trick in the book. We have spoken of ballooning populations that they use, the demographic strength that they use to conquer a society. You have Japan, which has a declining birth rate. Who's coming in to fill in the gaps? You have one community which is struggling to trying to get there, so that they conquer country by country, and they have set goals in this concept. And what is scary is that when they control the narratives, Jay, and if you defend, you're called an extremist or you're called an aggressor. But what if you, with such statistics like whose houses were burned and whose were not, still the British police, who you expect a neutral investigation, brands one community which has been on the receiving end as extremists. Who can we go for protection then?
Hmm. Well, what about the media? Let's talk about the media's reaction to this police report. What are they saying about it, and is it fair reporting?
Jay, media, the Hindu people um, immediately called it baseless and they refuted all the claims. First, that they cannot brand Hindus to be far right. Every political ideologies and political inclinations are completely different from your religious sentiments or your religious beliefs. They can't be clubbed together. You can't have such stringent bracketing of religion, political ideology, and that means there's lots of rigidness, isn't it, Jay? You have to be flexible. A person, I can support one party today. Tomorrow, if I feel something is wrong, I will switch to the other party. It depends on issue to issue, time to time. But if you see a Hindu or you see a Islam, you can't say he is left and he's right. It's an intermingling. So this report itself, and Jay, only this is the leaked information. The entire report has to come out, and the MPs in the Parliament, British Parliament, have been demanding that this report comes out in full because they want to see the discrepancies that they have put forth.
So the report finds incidences of extremism. Does that mean violence? What does extremism mean in the context of this report?
Yeah, Jay, they investigated the Leicester riots of 2022, and in that the violence was carried out on the Hindu community. The Hindu community did not carry out the violence. Their houses were burned, the temples were destroyed. Not a single Muslim house was burnt, and not a single mosque was harmed. So, how do you term the Hindus as the extremists?
It sounds like doublethink, isn't it? You know, or projection in the psychological meaning of that word. You're engaged in bad conduct, and immediately you blame the other guy for the same conduct, and now you've refocused the issue and you've attacked that person, and half the world will believe what you were saying about how that person acted badly, when in fact it was you who acted badly. That's very troublesome. One of the things we were talking about was the international repercussions of this. I suppose there's a long way to go before you get there, but query, what are the international implications of the report and this doublethink reaction to the report?
Yeah, Jay, it sets a standard at which you can talk about this, because this report has also mentioned that European terrorists are inspired by Hindu extremism. So when you say that, there are sections in Europe who are distressed by the kind of immigration that has come in, the cultural invasion that has come in. There are some Europeans who prefer the European way of life. They don't want to adjust to immigration and their culture. They don't want to adjust to Sharia courts. They don't want to adjust. They want the European way of life. It gets to a point of frustration because European population is sparse, and they don't have those many, such so much tolerance. They control, and then you'll have one odd person who will go and try to express his anger, but you can't term it as a European terrorist. Now, how do you distinguish between a European Islamic terrorist and a European terrorist? So they are kind of uh, making the lines very hazy, Jay. And one thing is that terrorists, um, the word terrorists, the actions to instill fear in the others is by one religion. So the others have not been inspired by this, or they have not fallen into this. Inherently, Jay, Hinduism is a peaceful religion. Why? Because see, the maximum vegetarians in Hinduism, vegan, they respect life, so they prefer not to even kill animals for food. It goes to that extent. While there is on the other hand, I compare it with Islam, there is a concept known as halal and jhatka. Do you know what is the meaning of halal? So halal means, when you see halal meat available here in all the shops, what does it mean? Do you take a moment to understand what it is? Halal meat means that they cut the animal in such a way, a slow way, that the animal feels the suffering. And that is known as halal meat, that they have to cut the neck slowly. So I mean, if it's that, they feel it's good to eat. So overall, the concept is to see the other person suffer.
Mm.
So it's inherently violent. But to balance that kind of violence, if you term such a religion as such a mild religion as having extremism, it doesn't work out well. And Jay, you cannot equate this concept with uh, other types of offensive or aggressive incidents, because we don't have a generalization of terrorism. Only one type of generalization is when you fight for the religion, and only one religion has been fighting that in this civil society, in modern civil society. We have only one religion who's fighting to spread terror, and it's no secret. Jay.
Why would they do that? I've always wondered why the Islamic community does that, and who exactly is leading the Islamic community in doing that. Here you have it's a foreign country to them, and and it has the rule of law and very important democratic principles in play. This is very destructive, actually, for everybody. And I wonder why they feel they need to do that, and who is actually coming up with this.
Yeah, Jay, they're trying to balance Islamic jihad with these concepts which come up: saffron terror, Hindu extremism, Christianity. If you say, they call it aggressive, they are like warrior, these terms which are used, they're not generalized. That can be a one off of incident. But the generalized jihad concept, like they have in their book, which has to be followed if you have an infidel or a non-believer in front of you. We don't have that concept. If somebody doesn't believe in Christianity, you will not cut my neck. It's like that. But in their book, it's written, if that person doesn't follow or doesn't believe in what you say, you have the right to take it to the next level of cutting with the sword. So that cutting with the sword is so easy. They practice on every festival. They do these things because they have made it, that is their way of life. So kind of for them, life is just a stage. After that, if you martyr yourself in the name of religion, you get heaven. In Hinduism, it is no linear concept. You don't go from life to death to heaven. You come back. It's a cyclical term of concept. We don't have a linear term of concept of time in Hinduism. It's like whatever you do, you'll come back to earth and pay for it. You'll be born as a donkey, you'll be born as a dog, but you have to do good in every deed.
I mean, I'll make you prime minister for a minute. Okay. You like being prime minister. What would you do to stop it?
Yeah, Jay, see now, Stammer is got a clear cut majority. Still, he is indulging in this kind of
Accommodation.
right. The first thing is to recognize, Jay, that everybody is equal. If they are equal, then they have to behave and have rules of decorum when they behave in a society. They cannot do things as they want. Today, UK is a failed state because we have so many pockets of the United Kingdom which are unrecognizable from 15 years back. You cannot go into that neighborhood uncovered or, without sleeves or having a skirt. They will tell you to cover up. Secondly, they want Sharia law to be implemented. They come lured by the democratic principles, the open society. But once they come in, they get the comfort and they want to make it their own. Then what happens? The call for the Sharia happens. Same thing happened with the Taliban in Afghanistan when earlier Afghanistan was considered to be a very modern country. Iran was considered to be a very modern country. Once the clerics came in, you have a different kind of society which happens. And that is exactly what is happening in the UK right now. It may take another 10 years to develop into a fully Islamic country, but it's moving fast on that path. France is on that path. Sweden is getting, claustrophobic in this kind of environment. You have countries which will find this very hard to take, and then you will have the real tensions which will rise. Hindus will go back to the country which they belong to. They'll go back to India. They have a home over there. And the Indian government has passed a law that any Indian who wants to come back to India will have no problem. They will get uh, access without any restriction. So that's the law that is passed. Because till now, Jay, it was like there was a law in India that had to you had to vet whoever was coming in. But the Modi government passed a law that if you are a Hindu, you have the Hindu home to come to.
This wouldn't happen in India, right?
No, it happens. It happens, Jay. We are having it in West Bengal right now. There's a state in the west of India in which the Bangladeshi immigrants who have come in, they are creating a ruckus and they are targeting the Hindu community. Today, Hindus are living as a refugee in that state for the past 1 week. And now the border force, the army has been sent in to control the migrants. It is the same thing. Migrants kept on coming to that small state. It's like a county or a state. So they kept on coming, and today they are overwhelmingly above the Hindu population. What happens when they're the dominant part? They establish, they conquer.
Even as prime minister, Roopmati, I mean, I know you can't do everything, close, but not everything. Suppose you're unable to find a solution.
It is no longer available, Jay. That is the truth of the matter, because right now they are at the point that they dominate. You have the positions of power, which are the mayor of Brighton, the mayor of London, the education minister of Britain, the law minister of Britain. All of them have gone to the other hand. And CJ, religion comes with lots of repercussions. By that I mean, if you have a Christian minister, his way of implementing things will be different. His tolerance will be different. If you have an Islamic person, his tolerance will be different. If you have a Hindu person, his tolerance will be different. But if you have somebody who comes in with a set um, bracket of rules and they want to implement it, what is their agenda? That they want more people from the Islamic world to come inside Britain so that they can use Britain's facilities. That's what they strive for. you don't have Indians. I think Hindus are one of the people who will say, okay, you stay back. I'm over here, no problem.
Indians as a group, are very industrious and very focused on education. Look at the United States. And for that matter, look at Britain. The previous the previous prime minister was Indian, and I guess that means he was Hindu Indian, wasn't he?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm concerned that this does not portend well politically, and that if it goes to greater friction, greater conflict, then you're going to have a reaction by the community in general. I wonder if it happens in other places, like for example, France, Germany, around the European Union, or is it limited to the UK?
The population is very large. The Hindu population is very large in Britain, lesser than the Islamic population. But British society is always criticized to be a racial, discriminatory society. But when all these came in, it was like a melting pot, like how America is. It was a melting pot of all the migrants who came from the colonial sun never sets from on the empire. All the empire remnants came inside. All the people who fought for the world wars for them settled into Britain, and everybody took their piece of cake. What happened is Britain lost its Britishness. The British really have become something like they have fallen for what has come inside, and the uniqueness is now a far-fetched possibility. You have so many Britishers who will hesitate to speak about the effects of migration. You had the stiff British upper lip. No, you have noise now in the parks. You don't have a quiet park. You don't have the British food. You'll have a doner more often than a fish and chips shop. So all that has changed a lot. You don't have the British style of clothes, the umbrellas, the bowler hats, nothing of that sort. You'll have uh, a different UK from what it was, and that change, Jay, is just not very superficial. It is also the society which is changing, and that is the main problem. If it was just superficial, it was acceptable, but when you have a cultural invasion, that becomes a problem. And after America closes its doors, Europe is going to face the onslaught of this migration two times over. Whoever has come out of their country and wants to go to some place, they are going to make Europe their destination. And it's 5 years to 10 years that you have a intolerant European society which is unable to take care of its burgeoning population. They're not going to have that kind of social protection. We go there for the tourist spots, Jay. We go there for the food. We go there for the Europeanness of Europe. But now it's not. How many times you hear stories of tourists having their stuff stolen? Earlier in Italy, it was just that if you don't give your camera, it might get stolen. Now your belongings, your purse, your bag, your luggage, your hotel room, your Airbnb, everything is just looted. So that is why, because of um, the weakness of the society right now. This is voter appeasement, because this community comes with demographic strength. They come with the population. They come with the increasing population. One person that you help will bring in 6 votes from his family. Today, so many families of six children are on social security from the government. They are social benefits from the government. So all these are given social benefits. Why? So that they will translate into votes. Now Stammer has got such an overwhelming majority. Why? Because Sunak was against migration. He wanted to have a refugee camp in Rwanda where he would send all these people back to Rwanda. We had discussed this a long time back. So the immigrants got disturbed. They said, if this happens, they will not have a future in Britain. So you have a very overwhelming majority given to the Labour Party, who is pro-immigration. Now, pro-immigration, voter appeasement, demographic statistics to look in the future also bring in these changes, these cultural changes, and that is a side effect, Jay. And British society has not been. It's a 70-year process that 70, a decade that they have collapsed, the societies collapse, and say decade later or century later, we will not be able to recognize Britain as it was. But the Hindu society, because Hinduism is not a religion in a way of life, it's 5,000-year-old, Jay. So many migrants have come. It was always been invaded by the Mughals, by the Islamic conquerors, by the Mongols, by all of them. But why it stayed? Because it was just a way of life, and never divided on religious lines. The Hindus never wanted anybody to convert to their religion. It is the only religion which did not spread by conversion. It was just that you would practice what you want. There was tolerance for the other, and there was love for your own dharma. Dharma means religion. And when the Islamic rulers came in India, Jay, they came for a century or so. Uh, so they levied a tax on the Hindus known as jizya. Uh, for that, Hindus had to pay extra money to be able to practice their own religion. And believe me, in spite of so much of n- such a large population, sustained even that kind of a tax, but held on to their religion. Now, in today's world, if you tell somebody you take social benefits or change your religion, you will prefer to take your social benefits and leave your religion. That didn't happen in Hindu society for for thousands of years. So that's how that society has sustained. Europe is not sustaining a decade or one century of this migration, Jay. That is where the danger lurks, Jay. Today we can talk of everything being uh, in a tolerant manner or something. But when it comes in, power comes into their hands, they're not going to have the same kind of tolerance. When they were flying the planes into 9/11, only concept was that the US troubled um, the Muslims in Afghanistan, so we have to target the symbols of prosperity and globalization. So that was the World Trade Center. How many lives lost, how many people dead? Nobody thought about that. So terrorism doesn't have a religion, but it does have a religion. That is uh, uh, the statement that is to be made. The majority of terrorists today are from the Islamic world. They are not from other religions. The other religions are the receiving end in today's contemporary world. And to brand other religions to balance out the jihad or the violence of Islam is absolutely wrong, Jay, and it's misleading because the end result is never going to change. The sword comes in the hand, they're going to cut slowly and seeing the suffering, Jay.
Yeah. Why am I reminded of October 7th and the
Mm,
Hamas in Gaza, which is still going on?
yeah.
Anyway, I don't see an easy solution here. So that means we have to come back to this and follow it. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much to our guest, Roopmati Khandekar, geopolitical analyst for ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidell, host of Global Connections. We've been discussing the efforts in the UK to debunk the myth of Hindu extremism. Thank you to our viewers for watching. We'll see you again soon for the next one. Aloha.
Hello, Ajay. Thank you so much.